Yes, all vaccines are in trials at the moment. I mean, the ones that are going through the sort of phase 3 and the ones that go through sort of, let's say, an established routes. I mean, there are some vaccines approved that might not have gone through the same established routes to market. We're really pleased to have had a relationship or to announce a collaboration with Johnson & Johnson, really large company, and we had fantastic global capacities and capabilities. You'll know we spent a lot of time on that. So this is a really important part of bringing a whole lot of our efforts and endeavors in one space. But mostly, I mean, to just be able to contribute to, we can all get our lives back to normal, without sanitizers, masks, etc. It would be great to have played that part.
Now, talk to me about your capacity. You would be able to ramp up to 300 million vaccines on an annual basis.
Yeah, I think in that space, so we've allocated a certain space in our Port Elizabeth facility. We've got other areas, both locally and in France. But for the area that we intend manufacturing the Johnson & Johnson product, we do have capacities of over 300 million doses. I mean, and that's big capacity. That's really, can make a meaningful dent into global needs.
Now, where are we in the process? Obviously, this is a relationship between Johnson & Johnson that you've had for some time. You've now formalized the agreement. But where to from here, Steve?
Yeah, so they're in their phase 3 trials. The phase 3 trial has 60,000 participants. So 30 people get the drug or the substance or the real vaccine, and 30,000 people who also are unaware would be getting a placebo, which is really water, if you want to call it that. The doctors don't know. No one knows what they're getting or aren't getting. And then there's a comparison at the end to see if there's statistical difference between, the outcomes of those, a very large sample. And that's for Johnson & Johnson, and that's their expertise. From our perspective, what we're trying to do is get a tech transfer across into our facilities and to be able to ramp up. And these are significant volumes. You just divide it by what you need to produce every day. So just trying to get all the supporting functions up and to do the necessary technology transfer. That technology transfer has already started, and we hope that transfer will be finished in sort of Q1 of next year, calendar year. And then if the vaccine is approved by then, we're ready for commercial production. Come April or so, March, April next year, we'd be ready to sell large volumes of product or supply Johnson & Johnson large volume of product.
In the verbiage, there was no indication of where terms could go, size of contract. Obviously, there's a lot of ground to cover before we get to that arena. But in terms of, and again, this is a big debate point globally, who's going to fund the vaccine, how will it work, and will you be making profits, et cetera, et cetera. What thought has been given to that element of the deal?
So Aspen is providing a contractual service for Johnson & Johnson to sell their product and supply into the Johnson & Johnson global network. So with those terms between ourselves are finalized, but they're obviously confidential and competitive. So it's competitive information. So it's not something we're going to be putting into the public arena. But in terms of overall vaccine prices, the prices that are out there and have been made public, and you can sort of say, this is what they paid, and for 100 million doses, we're seeing prices between $6 to $20 a dose. Most of the sort of leading candidates are out there with that sort of range. I mean, and let's face it, if you can take a vaccine to sort out the world at that price per capita, I think we'd have done well. I think the bigger issue is really getting the volume out quickly, and there's no one company that can service the total global volume or will have the capacity. It's hopefully we have more than one shot at goal, but the capacities will be limited. And of course, if you could vaccinate everybody tomorrow, that's great. But if you don't have the capacities and capabilities, it might take years.
Stephen, just before I let you go, we've obviously been engaging with the advent of all of your results periods, etc., etc. And are you getting a little frustrated with this story that people don't understand Aspen Pharmacare anymore?
You know, I sort of understand people not understanding when I went through it, because there is really a dearth of sell-side analysts that fully and dedicated to covering the business. But the story of Aspen, and we will be giving an investor conference to actually decomplicate because we are getting a story about complexity. And if you just look at the history, over the last 7 or 8 years, we had a period where we made the acquisitions and we grew, and then our business flattened. I mean, we've grown continuing earnings, but in reducing our debt by 35 billion rand, you can't, we are selling things, so your earnings have stayed the same. So I think we're in a position now where, our debt has leveled off. We've got a very clear strategy on our business. It's not a very complicated business to model, and I think we're going to try and help demystify the modeling concept on it. But yeah, it is. I mean, it has been. I haven't seen it as complicated, but certainly in speaking to people, I realize where those complexities might be. But I think it's pretty easy to sort out and resolve. But we're in a good space. I mean, and now we'll have some cash. So with the price at these levels, it's quite an interesting opportunity. So we'll have to see.
Well, on that note, I'm sure there are a lot of people looking forward to that investor conference. Stephen Saad, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Okay.
Stephen Saad is the CEO of Aspen Pharmacare.